Oh, back to where I was. Okay.
Back to work.
One of these days, we're gonna take a
four
hero's
unique
journey,
perspectives.
Just, like, pop on
It
right
is.
as it's happening.
Yeah.
It just
Do
go
what?
deep.
Yeah.
We gotta do it one time. Take 6 grams each and just get on and go.
Oh yeah.
That's
I
terrifying.
got
That's
I got my
terrifying to
my
me.
gorillas at the house, and I'm
Hey, we
ready
got
for
a
it.
driver.
Just like busting them out.
The DD in
Yeah,
the
I had to
house.
drive home the other night. I was like, this was a bad choice.
All right. So, let's see, how do we even start this?
So, Dad, you did mushrooms.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Hey, and
I am
it's
probably the least likely person in the world to ever experience mushrooms. I spent my whole life anti-drugs.
It's the first time you
Is
ever
it
did
a-
it, and you're how old?
I'm 37.
Right, duh. Sorry.
What did you think?
it's your brain.
So,
I think
your
maybe
brain on drugs.
58 would be a better answer.
it's funny. It's like it's not even really a drug because there's most likely mushrooms growing on your property, and you don't even know
There
it.
are. But
Yeah, but when you grow up in a time where it's extremely taboo and you are super
Oh, yeah,
low
the
life
the
to do it,
1800s were rough.
the war on drugs. And,
Yeah.
I mean, they used to call it, like, with weed, they used to call it reefer madness. And there was like, do you remember that? Is that before your time?
Well, yeah, you didn't have television.
No, but you didn't have television?
Shayna, I know that you're finding it hard to believe, but I am older than you.
I know that. But I know,
So,
but reefer
if you
madness
know-
was in like the 40s
If
or
it
the 50s.
happened in your time frame, then it
It
happened
probably
within mine.
happened in yours, but I think it was like in the 60s, and there was like a book or like a pamphlet or something like that came out, and it was called Reefer Madness,
Yeah,
and it was
I
when
don't think
African.
it was the I think it was the 70s.
And it was
Is it the 70s, Josh?
Probably. I wasn't alive, so.
I wasn't alive when it happened either.
I think it was the 70s.
Oh Lord.
But it was basically when African Americans would smoke weed, then they had reefer madness, and they would like rape people and stuff. Like it was actual like propaganda that the government put out. So
Yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. Well, I remember reading
about
that.
it, I read an article. I read an article.
It was in the history books.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok of talking about it. So that means I read a novel about it.
I grew up in the 80s. It was the burnouts. You ever heard that term?
No, tell us about it.
The burnouts?
Yeah, you've never heard of that?
No, tell us about it.
So if you were a druggie, if you smoked pot or whatever, when
You're a burnout?
you were a teenager in the 80s, you were a burnout.
Yeah.
Oh, like a
You
greaser?
know that term, right?
Yeah.
No, I've
Yeah.
heard the term. I didn't
Yeah.
know where it
Oh
originated
yeah,
from.
you don't want to get
You don't want to
get
be a
involved
burnout.
with the burnouts.
Don't mess with the burnouts.
All right, so from somebody who's never done any drugs ever, okay, just talking about this guy over here. He,
But it's not entirely true. My wife has roofied me a couple of times.
nice.
So
True. That's a whole other podcast.
This is not an admission of guilt.
literally roofied. I had no idea what I was
It's
taking.
fun. You ever roofie anybody?
Yeah. Oh my god. This guy's in
It's a blast.
the
told
invisible
this
man.
dude it was some vitamins.
So Nakomi, we had been at the gym working out, and we got out of the gym, and she hands me this taffy thing and says, "Hey, this is his new, what is it?
CBD.
After workout
Yeah.
something vitamins."
Post-war.
Said it's really
Post-workout
it's really
vitamin.
good for you. Like,
True
oh
story.
yeah, here, take one. And I took it,
Innocent, trusting husband.
and this was a Saturday, and we're date night Saturday night. So we're driving home, don't experience anything, get in the shower, nothing. We're leaving to go out on a date. She goes, "Does it make you feel any better?" I said, "No, I don't really feel anything." She goes, "Well, maybe you're a little bigger. You probably ought to take some more." So she gives me another one.
You're a little bigger.
The sucker that I am, I take another one.
What was it? Was it just...
Meanwhile, it's what I take every single
It's
night.
10 milligram gummies of
Oh, please.
I mean, nothing.
Two tins?
Should have given
Right?
him the whole bar.
Yeah.
I mean,
ultimately, I took 20, and we're sitting there. We go to the branch to eat, and I'm sitting there, and I'm all of a sudden, everything on the TV just got slow motion. and I'm
Well,
sitting there.
you took was it a 50
a
at
50
Dwayne's?
milligram.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I was just the warm up.
Dude, that was hilarious.
I just was helping you dip your little toe in the water.
Why's it got to be little? Why's it got to be little? No, he took the 50 milligram, and I got a video from Adrian where he's walking a straight line pretending he's a bird, and then flips off the camera. Sneaky like a cat.
Sneaking like a
Sneaking
cat.
like a cat. I don't know why in the world I said that.
Awesome. Best
idea.
moment.
So, okay, so you never done drugs, obviously, and you decide to go on a complete mushroom adventure. Why did you want to cross that threshold so far? Because everybody has their own reasons for doing it or even trying to experiment with it. But going from never doing anything ever, I guess what was enticing about that specifically? That was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that.
To be fair, it was just through listening to you talk about a trip and a little bit of, we watched the couple of videos that you had told us to watch and decided that I want to do this. I want to do some self-discovery. I want to be enlightened.
So what was that? So explain to me your mindset, like before you did it, you know, about to do it, and like what you feel like, you know, that discovery, if you did discover anything, like what that was.
Was it
for
anything
you,
like
and
you
talk about it.
anticipated, thinking about doing it and then watching what you watched? Did you have like a preconceived idea of how you thought it would be?
Well, just from talking to Nick and the videos that I saw, I mean, I had some idea of what other people had experienced,
Right.
and thought, well, I mean, that would be cool if I experienced that. But I didn't know, no idea what I was going to experience. And then leading up to it, I mean, I almost backed out. I mean,
It's kind of intimidating when you get there in front of
I'm
it.
like
Yeah, you're like looking at it.
Yeah.
And you're
looking
like,
at it, and I told Adrian, I said, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I blamed it on her
Yeah.
for being late.
I was out being
Look
a
what you did.
Maxxinista at TJ Maxx.
So I blamed it on her, and then finally I got the courage, and I just did it, jumped in, and it was quite a treat, very much. It's actually really difficult to talk about.
it's really hard to articulate because I feel like a lot of it is like thought and not words.
That's what I told Adrian. It's
Almost like
you feel the words.
feel the words. It's
You don't-
almost like if
You don't hear them.
it's like if I'm telling Nick something but I'm telling him with my mind.
Yeah.
And he can hear me and knows what I'm saying, but no words are being passed. But at the same time that the words would be being passed, you are also feeling the feeling that goes with the words. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, having just gone through it recently, yeah, it 100%.
It's like a knowing or something.
But it's really, I mean, Adrian's sitting on the other side. What's it like? What's it like? And I'm like, I'm stumbling trying to find the words to explain it because I know what I went through. I know what I felt, but to put it in actual words, and then secondly, to put it in words that anybody's going to believe
Or
'Cause
understand.
I didn't even believe it.
Yeah.
I believed it. It was so real, and I know that it was true, but the thought of somebody coming to me and telling me that they had just gone through what I had gone through, I would not believe it. And so, right now, just sitting here in front of you guys, and you guys have all experienced it and done it, I feel stupid telling you because I'm like,
You know
there's
that
no
we
way
know.
that this could have happened to me. But I mean, the reality is it did. I mean, I literally, Nick talked about he shook hands with God.
That's
Right?
the best way to describe it. Yeah, just walked up and shook hands with God, and He just showed me around for a little bit.
You know a little bit about my past. Adrian probably knows the most, and I've struggled with dealing with dealing with my parents. My parents have never really accepted me and never really liked me. I've struggled with a relationship with them. I've spent the last 2 years having talked to them, and it's been weighing heavily on me for the past couple years. It seemed like the older I got, the more I struggled with it because I truly wanted a relationship with especially my dad, but preferably both. And last night, or was it last night? Sunday night was a breakthrough.
Last night.
I mean, it was a total 100% breakthrough. I'm just going to throw all my inhibitions aside and tell you what.
Yeah.
And I don't even. It's like you said. I felt like I was in the presence of God, and He literally told me. He said, "Your parents were just carriers."
That's what he told me too.
He said, "I handpicked you. I picked you to be born for a purpose. I have a purpose for you. I picked you for that, and your parents was just the transportation to get you here."
Yeah.
And after hearing that, and I know that sounds so corny and so, how can that heal you? But it made sense to me after that. I no longer look at my parents as bad for not spending the amount of time that they should have spent with me or whatever, because they did what they were supposed to do, which is bring me into life. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all that was expected of them, and that's what they did. And I've always known what my mission in life was, secretly down deep, felt it, believed it, but now I know it. Now
You don't
I
question
live
it.
and breathe it. I know it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And I think like through my experience, that's kind of, what it was for me also is I always kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do and how I pictured things. And, once I decided to take that heavy dose I did, it's like I just knew there was no I stepped out of the gray area of, kind of an idea of what I was here for. And my perception with all my relationships completely changed. So like your relationship with your parents, I'm assuming you still probably haven't talked to them. Your perspective on how you feel about them, did that change at all?
Absolutely. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I could sit down in a room with them right now and not have any ill feelings at all.
What do you think, if you can define it, caused you to change your perspective, and how it changed from literally the day before?
Well, because I honestly believe that I felt bad at them because I feel like they failed me. I feel like I deserve to
Or they
have
didn't
parents.
see
I
you.
deserve to have somebody love me. I deserve to have somebody want to be next to me, want to know. I mean, my parents don't even know what I do for a living. They don't even know anything about me. But I felt like I deserved parents that knew about that.
Especially once you're a parent, because you know how you feel
Exactly.
about your kids.
I mean, I can't go a day without thinking about my boys. And how does my parents go years without thinking about me? And it changed, though, when I this is what sounds so arrogant about this thing, and I tried to explain it to you last night, and this is what makes it difficult to talk about, is that I feel special today.
And you didn't before.
No, I've never experienced love in my life until last night. I feel like that God wrapped his arms around me and showed me love for the first time.
That's
Give me
beautiful.
goosebumps.
That's beautiful.
Now, do you feel like you truly never did experience love in your life, or you finally just realized what love was and what you were experiencing?
I think it's more that, because what I did realize is
Unconditional love.
unconditional love, but just love in general. Anybody that knows me now knows I love my wife dearly. She's my soulmate. And
That lady.
Get it on the right camera.
Yeah, it went straight to me on that one.
No.
but I always because of my relationship with my parents, I found it so difficult to imagine, since they couldn't love me, that anybody could love me. And I pushed people away that actually do love me. And so to your point, yes, I think I probably have experienced love, but didn't know what it was when it hit me in the face. And last night,
When you
I
don't
knew
have
what
a
it
good
was.
example of it, when you don't have a good example of it, you don't know, right?
right, I took this trip laying in bed, listening to music and Adrian came in and checked on me a couple times, and then she just sat next to me and rubbed my back a little bit, and it was the most amazing feeling in the world. It was the, like I said, I have never felt love before last night. And I feel like that the world is supposed to be full of love. And I've missed out for 58 years. That's what I feel like.
That's a powerful statement. Yeah, I'd like to hear what Josh has to say
You
about
know
that.
what's really beautiful about most of that?
Come on in. The quantum physics expert here. Switch the headphones around. Wrong ear. There we go.
You're gonna go scientific on us now.
No, not at all. No, we're gonna stay in the trippy mode because it is extremely difficult to like express, right? But what it sounds like from what I'm observing is that there was a lot of ahas, a lot of awarenesses, right? A lot of new ability to harness what this energy is, which is love, right? And the best part about this is now that you have gone through this, you now have the opportunity to share that love, right? Because a lot of it is that we're learning that this love is within us, right? At first we think that we gain love from the outside, or we have to do things to achieve love, or we have to be at this certain level or see certain things to be able to experience love. But once these triggers, these aha moments happen within us, and we learn what love feels like, that now is going to shift your entire reality around you. And it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, because when you're in these deep heroic journeys, and it's almost like you're getting all of the information and love and wholeness. It's like you're just getting it all downloaded at the same time, which is why it's kind of hard to be able to express that through definition, right? But what we're able to do when we're unpacking that or integrating that is we're able to just, instead of thinking about it, just hold our mind on what that sensation felt like, right? Because when we hold our mind on just what it felt like in the body, you know, when your wife was scratching your back, there was a sensation, there was a feeling, an understanding of what that energy is. That energy is love. And I think where a lot of us have failed miserably is we didn't know what love felt like. And that's really a lot of the things that we try to teach, is how to get out of the head and into the body, and how to learn how to cultivate energies like love, right? And to be able to just move through that. Because when we let go of all the definitions or attachments to the reason why things happen, or what we think should be the way it should be, or what character we need to show up in the world, when we let all of that go and we just hold our attention on that sensation of love, we begin to realize that everything begins to reflect back in that manner.
So do you...
I want Adrian to talk a little bit about what she felt, because she had expectations coming into this, and I think that initially when we were talking, you were a little bit disappointed because you didn't have the same feeling that I had, the same experience that I had. But as she sat and talked her way through it, she realized that she had the experience that she was supposed to have.
Right. I think that, and Nick, you had mentioned this, to set an intention.
A little bit closer. There we go.
Before, to
There we go.
set an intention.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I couldn't really focus on one. I feel like I have so many things that clutter my brain that I was trying to get through. But I think in general, it's just for me, and especially I have to call out, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So,
I didn't even realize that.
yes.
It's a great month to take
It
a
is.
trip.
It is. Oh, yeah. Great month to take a trip. Weather is fun. But no, with the work that I do for corporate America anyway, we're doing a lot of work right now around mental health and just really educating our organization, our leaders, empowering them to be able to certainly not diagnose issues or be mental health counselors of any sort, but just to know how to see it, how to understand warning signs, how to offer support and help when needed. And I think that there's just been this stigma, right, around just some of the mental health concerns that we have. And I think everybody's got shit. Everybody does. And I truly feel like, and I'm getting to today's experience with mushrooms, but I think that so much of what we have in our brains, and my whole life, I've struggled with eating disorders. I'm bipolar. I'm very depressed. I have anxiety. But well, what does that all mean? Like, how much of it is truly like a chemical imbalance? And I think there's a little bit of that. I used to say it was all that. It's all chemical imbalance. Nothing I can do about it. But the more you kind of unpack it, it's so much deeper than that. It's learning how to just kind of let go of things and understand that, you know, every experience we've had and all the traumas and all the things that cause the depression and cause the anxiety and all this stuff, it's just experiences that you in your mind have a decision to make. You can keep on holding on to it and keep letting it, you know, cause anger and anxiety, control your mood, or you can just kind of let it go and realize that it was an experience. It's what happened at that time. I'm not going to dwell on it. I want to move on. And so I think that's what I needed from this experience, was to understand that, you know, so much of it, like, our brain can only handle so much. Like, we have all this shelf space, and we know as humans, you know, we have a lot more up there that we're capable of, but we only use a very small percentage of it. So instead of spending our energy and our time and cluttering up the brain with things that at the end of the day you can't control or that really don't matter, let's take that energy and spend it doing good and thinking about positive ways that we can help others or help ourselves. And I teach that to my leaders. I'm a coach, and I tell my leaders that all the time. Like, take that power that you're using right now, that negative energy, you're complaining, you're feeling down in the dumps, you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're frustrated, pack it, put it up, let's do something different.
Like, so knowing you, like, you intellectually already know these things because you said, like, you coach it. Do you feel like it gave you a different perspective on what you're already coaching to understand what you're already saying differently? Or how did it affect the like for me, when I went on my trip, you know, I already had an idea of, you know, like, what I believed, what I wanted to do, and then nothing really changed, but I understood everything that was already in my mind on such a deeper level that's unfathomable to even explain in words.
Right.
Did you experience anything like that?
You know, the best way I can verbalize it is that I don't necessarily practice what I preach, right? I spend so much time helping leaders, getting them through their ups and downs, and helping them to be better people, better humans, better leaders, better everything. But I still have all this crap that I don't deal with because as an empath, I'm one to just want to help everybody else. So I spent so many years just keeping all this crap bottled up inside of me. And I really feel like this experience, it sounds so corny, but it's just allowed me to just realize that it's all clutter that doesn't need to be there. It's like spring cleaning. It's like, clean out your shit, clean out your closet. You don't need all that crap. And I feel like it really does manifest itself in physical ways in your body, like illnesses, like cancer, like, you know, just not being well in the physical body. I think it's more controlled by the brain. And I think that is the clarity that I needed. And that all this stuff that you hang on to is just wasted energy that could be spent doing so many other greater things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll tell my leaders, you know, I have a leader in particular that I'm thinking of. She's amazing, but she takes everything on and she stresses everything. And things that she can't control, and she's stressing about it. And I said, take that energy right now that you're spending and go look at your little girl and have a conversation with her, read her a bedtime story, give her a hug, spend that energy that you would put there this weekend stressing, just spend it on your daughter. Like, enjoy that moment, because that's the stuff that matters at the end of the day.
It's a really beautiful concept because, you know, like the most valuable thing in all of the world is attention, right? I mean, we even say it, to pay attention to something, right? Where focus goes, energy flows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things, just so everyone understands, we are talking about psilocybin mushrooms, okay? And
Just to clarify.
Yeah, just so we're
I'm
all
still
on the same
tripping.
page, right? And so what they have
I don't know
found,
what you're taking, but that's not what I did.
I still feel like I can't quite
Yeah.
put words out there.
There is no words to describe it, because what's happening is new neural pathways are beginning to fire and wire. So when we think new thoughts, positive thoughts, or we begin to have awakenings or aha moments, new realizations about perspectives and the way that we can shift that, we're not necessarily getting rid of the old, but what we're doing is we're creating new networks of neural pathways that are firing and wiring together. And when we use our attention, right, to pay attention to those types of thoughts and those types of feelings and actions, the firing and the wiring begins to build and become more of a highway of information. And then you just kind of arrive at a place to where you're just in a better mood, and the people around you are in a better mood, you know? And so it is truly a beautiful thing. And like with depression specifically, like the medicines that the pharmacies create, right, which is really just to fix symptoms to cause more issues, they bind to certain receptors in the brain that for temporary moments make you a zombie to those feelings, right? They kind of block the things. Well, what they've found out is that many different breeds of mushrooms, and especially psilocybin and others in combination with it, actually bind to these same receptors at 1,000 times the rate.
Wow.
1,000 times the rate. And so there's a real big, and this is not medical information. We're no doctors. We're not here to tell you what to do. You shouldn't do anything we're telling you to do. But these are stories that we've done and
But
research,
if you want to.
and research we've done that have really helped a lot of people. And so I'm all about these massive hero journeys, but I'm also about finding the right concoction of microdosing. And so like using a Stammet 7 blend with niacin and like a 0.1 of a gram, a tenth of a gram in a capsule, and taking that like once a day for long periods of time. And the science is now showing, you can look up Stammets, right? There's lots of evidence, especially in the 55 plus crowd. This is where all of the science is now coming out with mushrooms and the different breeds and lion's mane and turkey tail. And not only is it extremely well in the fixing of depression, but it also is anti-cancerous, anti-inflammatory. It's limiting the blood and feed supply to tumors. You know, like there's just so many incredible pathways that's happening right now. And it's really cool too, because not very long ago, there wasn't very many people in my world talking about this. I didn't have very many friends, especially no adults, you know.
Just toddlers.
That were
Just go ahead and say it, old people.
Yeah, well, yeah, y'all aren't even old.
That's what he meant.
Here's another thing that we're realizing too, is that age is driven by belief.
You know what I experienced through this though? You talk about age. A revelation that I had is time is something that man made up.
Exactly.
And in the world that I was in last night, time meant nothing.
Isn't it such a
Time
beautiful
meant
feeling?
Absolutely nothing. because I was experiencing it for the first time at 58, and somebody might have done it at 16 or whatever. It was the same, whether no matter how old you were, age meant nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Time meant nothing. And I want to talk a little bit about, you had said something about you didn't really discover anything new about yourself, but just reaffirmed, made you believe stronger in what you already knew.
Yeah,
that's one of the first things
like
that Adrienne said when she was coming to, you might say. She said, I didn't really have the journey I was expecting, but she said, I feel like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not supposed to be anywhere else but here.
You said the same exact thing last night, too.
Did I?
Yeah.
That I'm where I'm supposed to be, and it's a much more clear. I came away knowing I have a purpose. I've always known what that purpose is. My purpose is to help people.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that my whole life a little bit. I feel like I'm more enlightened today and can do a better job of it. But I believe that you came away with the same thing. I mean, I last night, my journey included myself, included Adrienne part of it, and I see her talents. I know what her journey is. I don't know why that was. I don't know why she was so much in my thoughts, because it wasn't intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't trying to think of Adrienne or anything. I wasn't able to ask questions. I mean, I said I sat in front of God. I wasn't able to ask God a question. I sat in just awe and listened to him. I don't know.
As the pure observer.
As an observer. He was telling me things. I saw my death. I literally saw how I was going to die. And I came to grips with death and the fact that I'm not scared of it. When it happens, it happens. It literally... It was explained to me that when our time on earth is done, we will die. And when our time on earth is done, what I mean by that is when God is done using us, we will move on. And it's not, to me, it's not moving on, dying and going away forever. I'm moving on to a different state of being. I'm moving on to somewhere else.
Yes.
And I've never believed that before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that came from. It's what I felt last night. And I truly, I came away with the fact that if I die tomorrow, then my time was just done. If it's 30 years from now, then that's what it is. And I know watching the videos that we watched prior to this was one of the things that the doctors were trying to get out of their parents or the patients that they were giving this to, was to try to get them to cope with death. And most of them were cancer patients or things like that, and they were trying to get them to come to grips with it. Well, I don't feel like I'm dying. I don't feel like I don't even know why that came through my mind, but it did. and so I feel like I came to grips with that. As the day went on today, I mean, I've just felt so many other things that I just keep, like you had said, I mean, you're months removed from it, and you're still learning about your experience.
Hey, Rufus, shut up.
Rufus.
That's the podcast dog.
Yeah,
I think you'll spend the next few months unpacking everything, because it's like a massive download of information that you really weren't expecting. And like, if I were to even describe to you what you're going to experience, there's no words that can adequately describe, what's actually going on in there.
I still don't feel like I'm doing an adequate job explaining what happened.
Oh, you're doing a great job. And two, it's also important to understand that we are naturally, we talk a lot about vibration, right? And I think most people kind of have a pretty comprehensive understanding of what vibrational frequency means. And that's your emotional state, the way you think, the way you do, the way you treat people, the way you treat yourself, right? Well, when you were going into this thing, it's important. Let me back up. We are naturally the highest vibrational beings when we come here. We are untethered. We are unsend. We are absolute beauty, and we stay that beauty. But what happens as we grow up is we get conditioned, we become products of our environment, things happen to us in repetition, which creates a belief system. And what happens is we begin to hold on to these belief systems, or lack thereof the belief system, which kind of pulls our vibrational frequency down, like a weight almost. Well, when you go through an experience like this, and you have such a magnificent moment to where you realize a truth in your world of a situation that you might have been holding on to that was anchoring your vibrational frequency down. By letting go of that baggage, you have now instantly changed the world. You have not only shifted your vibrational frequency, but just in your own being, in your own awareness, you have improved Nick's life, your wife's life, my life, everyone that you don't
said that
know.
almost word for word yesterday on the phone with you. When you have this hard reset of your beliefs, you're completely shifting the frequency that you're at, and everyone around you becomes better, and you're able to operate out of a purpose of love instead of a sense of duty that you feel like was placed upon you.
You talk about frequency. It's bizarre because one of the things I came away and I keep saying is I felt an electrical current running through my body the entire time this was happening.
Radiating.
No, it wasn't a feeling.
Yeah.
My muscles were jumping. You know, like you put an electrode stimulator on you to make your muscles jump. My muscles were actually doing that. My chest muscles, my arm muscles, my back. It was literally vibrating that much, and I could feel it. It was amazing. I'm not a music person, never have been. Don't know why. Just never. It's not one of my gifts. But I was listening to music when this was going on, and for the first time in my life, I mean, I could see music.
That's
I had
true.
my eyes-
I've been there.
I don't know how else to say it other than I could see it, and I could see it in colors. I could see it in so many different ways, and I could feel it. And it was so bizarre. So I don't understand it.
Yeah, some of the understanding too is like when we come into this world, right? We believe that we're limited to 6 senses, right? Our feeling, our touch, our taste, our imagination, our eyesight, right? Well, when you go on a journey like this, you realize there's many more sensory senses that we have access to. We just don't know quite how to describe it or tap it. But as you have some journeys and then integrate some time in between, and have some journeys and integrate some time in between, and then you start having new ways of looking at life, that it's happening for you and not to you, right? You begin to start picking up on these sensory senses without being in the trip.
Yeah.
And that could be clairvoyance, clairaudience. You can hear things that other people can't hear. You can see things that other people can't hear.
Well, Adrian's always been special in that way. She is
Borderline psychic.
she's not borderline. She
It's
literally
exhausting, though.
She literally last night, we were laying in bed together, and I was just thinking about what I had experienced and it was the death part of it.
And I started to cry.
And she started crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And she said, because I'm seeing you die. And I literally was just sitting there. She read it.
And I told you how.
And she told me how.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't tell me yet that you had that vision.
No, I hadn't told anybody that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's definitely is more spiritual than I am.
That's the empath in you, being able to attune to the vibrational frequency of the environment that you're in.
Yep.
And so I call it telepathy, is what I call it. And so this is something I kind of practice as well. And it's a trait, right? You when you are able to match the frequency of someone, it's understanding that all frequency resonates with certain words, with certain phrases. With if anger is here, well, then there's certain words, thoughts, formations of anger, right? And so when you tune to someone's vibrational frequency, you open your mind to those thought patterns, visions, images that all resonate at that thing. And then someone that's really attuned to that can formulate that through word pretty rapidly. It takes practice, and and it sounds like this is just something that's always naturally happened to you. But as you let go more of the mind and you learn how to tune more into the body, I think the images will come through even clearer for you. Just beautiful.
I don't want to drag this way on into the night, but I like to ask something. So pick a hard scenario that you would have been facing in your day-to-day life, okay? And do you feel like from this experience, from being shown love or whatever, that you would approach it differently and possibly make a different decision, or how would it possibly affect you in a day-to-day life scenario? Does that make sense?
I know exactly what it's done for me. Growing up in the religion that we grew up in, it was full of judgment. And we judged everybody by how they looked, by where they're at in life, whether they were on drugs or they're pregnant out of wedlock, whatever. You're constantly making judgments about people. And the one thing that I got out of this is with love, none of that exists.
That's right.
Because we're accepted for where we're at, no matter what baggage we've got, no matter what. I mean, God chose me to be the person that I am and to be where I'm at, to be able to help the people that I'm going to help, knowing full well that I had all this baggage with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, because you had the potential to release it all.
Beautiful.
He doesn't, and so if he can do that to me, then how can I sit and judge somebody just because they're sitting homeless, drunk on the side? I used to think, well, they deserve it. They're either mentally ill or they were made bad choices, and they're no. I believe that they're in a place that either their mind is cluttered, like we all get, or something's happened to them, and maybe they're not as enlightened. Maybe their gifts have faded and they just don't know where they're at. They're lost a little bit, but they're still God's chosen one, and they're still love.
Mm-hmm. They're still a part of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I kept hearing the whole time I was there is love, 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 love. I kept hearing it over and over.
That's wild.
Incredible.
You know, and that's such an impactful statement too, just to kill judgment in general. You know, who who never has judged a homeless person?
We all have.
And we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had the same, kind of realizations that you did. Obviously, you grew up how you did, and you raised me how you grew up. Yeah. In the same environment, know, and I struggle with the same beliefs of heaven and hell and judgment and stuff, and having that melt away and learning to love people no matter what they're going through, and realizing that I don't even have to force myself or rationalize like, oh, they're God's chosen people, I'm supposed to love them, but actually like feeling what they're going through. It's like it made me an empath for, a brief moment. And then once you get exposed to this knowledge, like Josh and I say, like once you know something, you can never unknow it.
Yeah, once you experience it, you can't unexperience it.
For the first time in my life, I know why I'm here, and I believe that you kind of came to that tonight as well. You realized that you're exactly where you ought to be.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think my experience wasn't anything more than to remind myself daily as things start to come into my thought patterns, is this going to serve me in a way that I need it to serve me right here, right now? And if the answer to that is no, then I'm throwing it out. Because I don't have room for it. I don't have room for it to clutter my brain, because then that goes into my body and that feeds itself into my autoimmune disease and all the other physical ailments that we have. I think so much of it is controlled by what we have upstairs. 100%. So I think for me, this experience was more about, I can tell other people how to do it, but I need to learn how to do it for me.
You came out of that, and one of the first things you said is, I found peace.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just, if you really stop and analyze the thoughts that go through your mind every second of the day, and so much of it doesn't give us anything good.
Mm-hmm.
It's worthless, or it's damaging to our mental health, to our physical health. And so I think for me, this is the turning point for me to be able to start to acknowledge that, because a lot of the trauma and stuff that I know that my husband has gone through, like I'm pretty aware of how to help him with some of those issues. I am fortunate. I grew up with unconditional love. My mother was and is amazing, and thought I was the most wonderful, gifted person on earth, and she still does. I mean, she's just amazing. So,
And you are.
oh
That's
gosh, no.
You know, one of the cool things too about like how you're talking about this newly found observation of your thoughts, and for anyone else that's listening to this, right? You go from a state of emotion, thought, and action, right? You're not ever really observing the thought. It's just a part of you in your action. And when you have these realizations, you almost move your consciousness or your awareness into this third person perspective, into the third person seat, and then you can feel the emotion hit, and then you watch the thought process happen from that trigger. And when you arrive at that state, that is when the biggest momentum start to happen, because instead of reacting, which would reinforce that neural signal of that lower vibration or depression or anger, what happens is that signal doesn't repeat, right? It would normally cause you to go into action, but when the body doesn't go into action, you just sit there and go, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
These aren't my thoughts.
Yep.
I'm not depressed right now. I might be observing thoughts that are telling me I'm depressed, but I know that I am not these thoughts. And the more that we observe, and it's a trick at first, because you'll be in motion and that emotion hits and you react and you say something, right? But they go, oh, wait a second, that's not me. And just stop for a moment and just turn inwards and shift your awareness back into that third person perspective and just continue to observe. Try not to let one thought through your entire day slip by without your conscious awareness.
Exactly.
And it just begins to dissolve. And it's not so much that you're pushing it out, it's just that you're making peace with it.
Yeah.
And then you arrive at a new awareness and consciousness that just tends to be a lot more loving, kind, and supportive.
Yeah, I think it's all about awareness. I think it's all, it's just breaking that cycle of that inner voice that you just ignore. And I'm not saying I'm healed by any means. I got a long way to go. My biggest issue is I have a very unhealthy relationship with food. And so,
Me and you both.
As we all.
yeah.
Ain't nobody sitting here with 5% body fat right now.
But it does, it controls, it comes into my mind a lot. But just going through this, it's only been a couple of hours since I feel like I'm kind of back to normal. If I don't know what normal is for me, but I feel like I've thought about it probably 100 times. My brain has gone to that place of my body, my food, my body image, am I fat? Did I eat too much? How many calories did I eat today? What am I not going to eat tomorrow? And it's like, oh my gosh, I want out of it. Like, I need to get out of that and let it can't control me anymore. And so I'm still having the thoughts, and I know it's brand new, and I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I'm the all-knowing, but I'm telling you that I do know that I'm conscious of the thoughts now.
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
That's what I said. Like when you go through this experience, like everybody has something different, and it's going to bring to you stuff that you need to work through and deal with.
Yeah.
I got something really trippy for you, okay? This was one that was told me a long time ago, and it really made a big difference, because a lot of people think that the thoughts are up here. They think they're up here in their brain and their mind, right? Well, I want to challenge you to sit with yourself and do something. I want you to sit there, and I want you to hold your mind on your throat, and I want you to realize that both the words that we say out loud and the words that we say eternally originate from right here in our throat, not in our head. In our throat, right, is just sound and wave frequency moving through a vocal box formulating certain patterns that we've identified as words. But ultimately, the words only have the meaning that we give it. And it's not in our head. It's in our voice. It's in our throat.
I have to say really quickly, I have to interrupt, but I have to interject. Through my experience this evening, the biggest, I guess, physical thing that I can explain is that I felt like I was being choked.
Yes, okay.
I
yeah.
just,
Interesting.
I couldn't, I just
in
felt
your,
like
in your experience or prior to your experience?
during the experience
During the
today,
experience, okay.
it was like somebody was just right here on my throat the whole time. And I was like fighting myself in my mind, trying to say like, what is this? Why can't I breathe? Like, who's holding onto my throat? And just telling myself to let it go. Let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like I was in a jail, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes perfect sense because what you've described to me from what you're struggling with, you feel like you're in a, I mean, I'm not projecting anything, but it sounds like you feel like you're in a mental prison of what you've made yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're struggling to be free from that.
Right. Exactly. So I think when I started to realize that, when I started to, you know, again, I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't get much out of this, but as I sit there and the tears just start rolling out of my eyes, I'm like, where are these tears even coming from? But I think I just was able to find that place I need to be and understand what I need to do to start to heal myself.
It's beautiful.
I need to put on my own oxygen mask.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. Guys, this was a great little interjection to the
This was the
evening.
after party.
The after party. And if you can gain anything from this, you know, healing is so natural. It's all the stuff we're talking about is natural stuff that's literally growing in your front fucking yard. You
River
know.
birch trees. The white birch, one of the birch species, that's where these particular mushrooms grow.
Yeah.
Take mushrooms, have sex, and love everybody.
Let's go, babe.
Let's go.
Sounds like a plan.
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
The Diesel Daddies.
on.
are
Show me the way
out.
home, honey.
So,